Welcome to the September 14th meeting of the Penfield Board of Education. This meeting is called back to order at 6:32 p.m. Please rise and the clerk will lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is recommended that the board approve the September 14th, 2021 agenda as submitted. So may I have a motion and a second that the agenda of September 14th, 2021 be approved as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Recommended the board approve the following consent agenda, including the approval of the minutes of August 10th, 2021 and August 19th, 2021, and as submitted. The acceptance of the recommendation from the Committee of Special Education, the acceptance of the recommendation from the Committee of Preschool Special Education, the acceptance of the recommendation from the Superintendent for personnel changes, the acceptance of the appointment of Jennifer Somerville as Bay Trail Attendance Keeper for 2021-22 pursuant to 8 NYCRR Section 104.1, the approval of a therapy dog at Indian Landing at Indian Landing Elementary School, the request to approve the following bidders that you see listed there, the approval of the Webster UFSD application for participation in varsity gymnastics with Penfield as an incomplete team, and the approval to request to dispose of unserviceable textbooks. So may I have a motion and a second that the board approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Recommend that the treasurer's report, including the cash report, the cash fund the general cash fund report, the general fund revenue status report, the general fund budget status report, the school lunch fund cash report, and the school lunch fund revenue and expense budget report for the month ending July 31st, 2021 be approved. So may I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Special reports. So I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Putnam.
Thank you. I'm really excited for both of our special reports, but we'll start with our first one. And this is recognition of PHS August graduates. And after that, we will pause a little bit unless the graduates and their families want to stay for the entire board meeting, when you're more than welcome. Then we will come right back and we will have our 2021, there we go, capital project update from SEI, and we'll get an overview of that project. So just a little bit about PHS August graduates. As a reminder, the board has been steadfast with a goal around creating safe, engaging learning environments, promoting progress towards academic achievement and excellence, as well as the development of the whole student. And each year, while we all know of the June graduation because it is a big festival, PHS students and students from around the country graduate in June, in August, and in January each year. And while we try to celebrate those January and August grads, we've never done it this way. And so I just want to give kudos to our new principal of the high school, Mrs. Watt, who came up with this idea, and the board jumped on it. So tonight, we're going to honor 3 August 2021 graduates who've made Penfield very, very proud over their time. If you know me, I like quotes, and if I got graduates in front of me, I'm going to share one with you. So Henry David Thoreau said, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life you have imagined." We've loved having you as Penfield students, and we can't wait to see what happens after this stage and as you enter that world. And so I'm going to ask Mrs. Watt to come up to the visitor table now. We have 2 of our 3 graduates, August graduates, with us. Just give us a second. We're going to have our board and district office stand in front. And when Mrs. Watt calls your name, we'll have you come this way and shake or fist pound, whatever you're comfortable with, a whole list of people. And then our president of the board, Mark Elledge, will be at this end, and he will hand you your diploma. If parents want to take a picture, you can. We're also live streaming for the world to see. And so thank you very much. And I'll turn it over to Leanna. Just let us get ready, and then we can do that.
Thank you so much. So again, Leanna Watt, new building principal here at the high school, and with me is Dr. Charlie Rudes, who is our 12th grade assistant principal. I just want to make sure to introduce him and echo your comments. First off, thank you so much for having us tonight, because I know it's extremely important to the students and the parents to have this opportunity. There's a lot of family, good showing for our students. So again, we really appreciate that. And though I wasn't here personally to witness all of the hard work and the efforts and the challenges they faced, I'm extremely proud to be able to participate in honoring their accomplishments. So thank you again. Appreciate that. Awesome. So students, when we are ready here, you want to stand up? Great. Our first graduate tonight is Elizabeth Turley. Come on up. Our next graduate is Jacob Zalkowski. And although Aiden couldn't be with us tonight, I want to make sure we recognize Aiden Coughlin as a graduate as well.
Oh, congratulations.
As a quick reminder and a thank you to the and thank you, Mrs. Watt, for also Charlie Rudes. I can't see everybody in the audience when I'm up here, so thank you, Dr. Rudes, for being here, and thank you to the families that are here. Just so you know, at every graduation, and one of these days I'm going to have to change my quote, but I do always share that it takes when we talk about it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a true team to raise a PHS graduate. So we know that they wouldn't be where they are without that teamwork. And so graduates, if you could do me a huge favor, and as you walk out, family, friends, whoever it was that was with you and supported you, make sure you give them a hug and you tell them that, because life is short and we want everyone to know that. So thank you again. Just a round of applause for our August graduates. And again, you are more than welcome to stay for the board meeting. They are open, but if you would like to go and celebrate, we totally understand. Thank you so much. In the transition, we have, I think, some presenters this evening, and if you guys want to come up front, we'll shift to our capital project update. I can't remember. So if you guys want to come up, introduce yourselves and your firm, both for the board who knows you, but also the community, that would be great.
Vic Tomaselli, SCI Design Group, principal and involved in your project.
Hi, Steve Stavesky with SCI Design Group. I'm associate principal and glad to be here to review the project.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I think, do you have a clicker? Or is, Dan might be walking you through? Yep. as we wait, our community who watches for the last 7 years has seen in conversations around the district's talk and need for a additional space for a transportation facility. And so this project that we are looking at encompasses that. And I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay, do you want to say anything, Vic? Very good.
Well, we have a kind of a long PowerPoint that we are going to buzz through as quickly as we can, but try not to leave anything out. If we're going too fast or if you have any questions, please stop us. Otherwise, we're just going to try and rifle through this thing and give you guys an update as to where we are and where we've been and where we're going.
Okay, as Dr. Putnam indicated, this is the proposed project for the 2021 capital improvement project. It is a compilation of many years of effort, actually, to get to this point. And what we're presenting tonight is a compilation of work that has been done over the last several months, but also maybe going back a couple of years for some things that didn't get included in the current capital project. As you can see, we're going to be touching every single building within the school district. And we're going to start off with the high school. This is just a floor plan of the first floor, and you can see with the various shades of red the amount of areas that we are touching for this project. The darker red areas are areas of major construction work, and the lighter pink colors are more minor renovation. But as we go through the keynotes on the right-hand side, things that would be included in the project would be remove the vinyl composition tile flooring in the corridors and install new tile, repair the EPIS and edge roofing detail along portions of the high school, replace joints. There's some joints on the old precast concrete sections of the building that have hazardous material lead in it that we'll remove and replace. The full renovation, which is in the library and the commons area, and some toilet rooms. The entrance vestibules at both main entrances to the building, we're going to make them a little bit more secure than what they currently are, which is always a good thing nowadays. We have a little bit of outdoor work, which is renovating the main entranceway with new trees, new stamped concrete pavers. We're also increasing parking on the site with an addition of a parking lot out back. We'll be also looking at the rigging system for the curtains and things in the auditorium. You can see here the second floor, again, is a lot of the same removal and replacement of floor tile. We got some full renovation above the library, and again, some toilet room and classroom renovations. On the outside of the building, we're replacing some mechanical units on the roof, and there's some areas at the pool. The pool windows are in need of repair and replacement. One of the more significant areas of renovation is the library, and as part of this, we had user group meetings that included the librarian, the high school principal, and assistant principal, and they really wanted to change the feel and the dynamics of the current space. I think one of the more important things was that they wanted to have a more college feel. They wanted to create places where students can collaborate, do joint projects, those sorts of things. Still maintain areas for board meetings, improve the natural light, the mechanical systems, as well as the acoustics in the space. We did initially have some feedback that the amount of books within the space was decreasing. I think as a general rule, library books are getting smaller because everything can fit on your phone or your tablet. So by reducing the number of stacks, we're able to create some pretty dynamic spaces, and we're not only for the students, but also for staff and faculty. You can see here is a floor plan. I think what we're trying to do here is to create a central area where we have an amphitheater type of space where students can sit, hang out, look at their iPads or whatever, but also create a central IT space. Here we go. Yeah, it's not working. Doesn't like the screen. Have a central IT space. Right now it's kind of buried in the back. It's not very visible. We're trying to move that out to be a central focal point. So the center portion of the library renovation is this amphitheater plus the IT space. The IT space almost being like a Best Buy Geek Squad, a retail service area where students can get their laptops or computers modified, updated, whatever, and make sure that everything's running well. We did create some soft seating areas in front of the windows facing the courtyard. That's a south-facing window. We thought that would be a nice natural place where people want to congregate, especially in the wintertime when it's cold and dreary. And we also have other types of smaller rooms where students can sign out and do group work sprinkled in throughout the space. I think the biggest change that we're proposing was that we heard directly from the principal was, can we make this more dynamic, a two-story space? So you can see here is a section through the building, and you can see the amphitheater in the center section, and we also would try to create more light coming into the space by adding more windows coming in off the courtyard side. These are just some renderings of what the space could look like, and I'm just going to go through these rather quickly. So that was the interior renovation of the library. Other things that we heard in our user group meetings was that it was their way to make the courtyard a little bit more user-friendly, try to make this connection between indoors and outdoors, and create similar types of outdoor classrooms that would also serve as a connection to the inside of the library. This is a schematic concept that was produced by our landscape architect consultants, and it incorporates several different site features ranging from actual site furniture to concrete or stone benches and some overhead shadings, trellis type elements. All these areas, again, different types of seating, different types of learning environments can be moved from the inside to the outside when the weather permits. The second significant renovation as part of the high school was the high school commons. Everybody knows that portion of the building. It's that concrete structure in the front that looks very odd and doesn't look like it fits in with the rest of the building. You can see here, it was this square shape that was turned on an angle, and what we'd like to do with this would be the two serving lines, the two rectangles on the left. We would like to maybe open those up to be more of a food court type of feel instead of going in off the corridor and squeezing through a line. It'll have more of an open feel. We try to incorporate a similar concept with the current kitchen renovations that are just being completed. But then once you go through the serving line, you have a very short walk of about 15 to 20 feet before you get into the commons. I think one of the biggest things that we noticed in there was the acoustics were really bad. The walls are sloping, which is very odd, and there aren't any windows. So we wanted to address all of those things. You can see here is the section through the commons area. We are incorporating windows and curtain wall on the outside to allow light in, get that indoor-outdoor connection, and just try to break this sterile box that's out there. And this is the result of some of our efforts. You can see in the back left-hand corner is a large curtain wall, but in other walls you have clear story windows, again allowing light to come in. The idea was to create seating areas, different types, whether it's bar stool height seating that's a little bit taller, your normal table height seating with tables that could fold up. The picture that's shown here shows an arrangement for a public information meeting, so there is that flexibility to incorporate into the space. And both the library and the commons area, I think there was a need or want for better communication systems so that when we have these board meetings, it doesn't take as long to set up the room for the staff. So if we could try to incorporate some built-in cameras, built-in microphone and sound systems, that would be also part of the project. The ceiling is just an acoustical treatment. Again, we're keeping the hard floor, these floors that you have even in this room, the terrazzo, very durable. There's no sense to be removing that, but it is hard and very echoey, so we're trying to be conscious of the acoustics as well. Again, creating some soft seating areas in front of the big curtain wall, different types of furniture. This is just showing some banquette seating, kind of built in like you would see at a restaurant with some, again, clear story windows above to let light in. And this is an example of what it could look like on the outside. The opening in the corner is existing, but the large opening on the right-hand side of the box is new. And then you have other smaller windows throughout. As for the indoor-outdoor relationship, we did also develop a scheme of outdoor seating. Again, with the large curtain wall window, we'd have the ability to move from within, inside the commons, to the outside through doors. So we'd have a raised patio that would be the same level as the commons area. Due to the grading in the area, it does step down, so we created a lower terraced area as well. And we would just put some purchased furniture elements out there for use during the spring, summer, and fall. Finally, with regard to the high school, work at the high school, was the need or want to create a baseball, softball field complex. And this has evolved over a number of conversations with the athletics department. But on the top left in the darkest green, we have a baseball field and a varsity softball field, and overlaid into that is a multi-purpose field where you could play soccer games or field hockey or things of that nature. The next level color fields, the medium green, are just other playing fields that currently exist. And then the lightest green is just grass area. One thing that we're trying to do with the project is also address the drainage concerns that there are between the fields. I think there's a lot of the fields aren't usable or in early spring. So if we're able to address the drainage and instead of having the drain through swales, it might help the fields dry out better and use them a little bit longer into earlier in the spring. The baseball, softball fields are pretty much identical in terms of the amenities. They both have a press box, portable bleachers, batting cages, things of that nature, all the amenities that you would typically see with a sports complex of that nature. Some of the things that we also looked at but did not include in the project was we talked about a concession stand and maybe a storage building for the baseball complex, but through our due diligence, we decided that at this point in time it was not necessary to include those, but we did find out that there was a need for a storage building for the track equipment. I think a lot of the equipment is stored in or next to the current press box, and I think it's overflowing, so there is a small pre-manufactured building system, pole barn, if you will, incorporated into the development of this design. Next, we'll go on to Bay Trail Middle School. And again, one of the things that we were looking at specifically was the facts, family Family and Career Services, thanks, Vic. That's the L-shaped piece on the left-hand side. They wanted to upgrade how they teach, the number of students that they're able to teach in different pods. So we developed some schemes for that we would need further development, but that's going to be worked on as part of the project. We are also working on the serving line in the cafeteria, providing a new loading dock off the cafeteria, and then also a STEM room that's off the library. Other work includes roof replacements as well as the EFIS facade. We had started that in the current capital project, replacing the insulation material with something that's a little bit more durable, bird resistant, insect resistant, and lacrosse ball resistant. So we're going to continue that on the exterior facade of the building. This is just one of the two schemes for the facts. We have areas where there's sewing, but the main focus of the design effort was the culinary skills, and how do we create spaces for smaller groups. I think they have the ability for 4 groups of 6 students right now. They wanted to have smaller groups, so we're trying to get another station within the space and create central storage area for equipment and things of that nature. So we came up with 2 schemes. One has movable islands in the center with fixed counters around the perimeter, and one scheme had more or less fixed islands. And there's pros and cons for each, but we'll study those and review those with the end users once we are able to develop design further. This is just the loading dock. I think the biggest reason why we wanted this included in the project was they have a lot of deliveries during the day. There isn't a place for them to store these pallets of material, especially if it's delivered during a lunch hour, and they end up sitting out on the loading dock. If it's inclement weather, the boxes, whatever, just getting wet. So we've designed an area where they could have areas where pallets of material are stored under a roof. We put a weather screen around it so it's semi-protected, and also we extended the loading dock a little bit larger than what it currently is with a dock leveler and an area for dumpsters and trash. Pablo's Elementary School. Again, you can see the extent of the work here. I think that the replacement of flooring is a big, something that's included, and as part of that we'll have to remove some of the cabinets to get the flooring that's beneath it removed. Some of the cubbies would need replacement, the little locker elements that the students put their coats and books in. We do have some full renovation of some toilet rooms. The 2 serving lines that did not get addressed as part of this current project would be addressed with new equipment, and repair or replace electric panels that are seeing the end of their useful life. Harris Hill Elementary School. Again, it's a little bit more mundane work, kind of BCS work, but we're replacing the EFIS on the outside of the building, similar to what we were doing at Bay Trail. We're going to create a security vestibule similar to what we were doing in the high school, and then upgrade the access control to the building at the main entrances, and replace doors, windows, and sills. It's something that's been on the BCS list for several years now. Indian Landing Elementary School. We wanted to replace the walk-in cooler down in the kitchen area, renovate or replace the elevator serving the one end of the building, and then the major renovations in this building would include the toilet rooms. Again, this is the next level up. Again, major renovations to more toilet rooms. A lot of work in the classroom would be to replace the UVs, cabinets, counters, and cubbies. And then as part of this work, we're also looking at air conditioning the building. And this is just the upper level. It's a lot of the same, replacement of the unit ventilators, cubbies, and some of the casework along the windows, renovation of the bathrooms, and yeah, that's more of the same. The next is Scribner Elementary School. We're just looking at one of the wings where we have to replace the unit ventilators, replace access control, and replace the electrical panels. Not a lot going on there. We got a section of the roof which needs to be replaced. Again, replacing EIFS on the outside of the building, and there is some masonry work, masonry restoration that has to occur where the brick is deteriorating. The new transportation facility, this is something that's been in the works for a long time, decades. This facility was planned out. This is a fit plan. It's on the piece of property that was purchased this past May with the vote to purchase this land on the corner of Plank and Jackson. The orange bar is the transportation building, and it was placed in that orientation so you have a public-private kind of separation. The public would be able to park in the front, and that includes the bus drivers. In the back of the building is where all the buses are parked, so the building is acting as a screen, so you don't just see this sea of buses, because the number of buses I think we have planned are more than what you currently have in your existing facility. There is also a fueling station and a pole barn associated with this site development. Currently, the design calls for a septic system, which is at the leach field is that gray area on the left. But if the sewers are as planned, I think they're planned on being extended to this site, we could change the design and tap into the sewer system when it gets extended out to this area. Yeah, that's about it. This is just a floor plan of the bus garage. It is not only it's a transportation facility for the buses, but it's also the home for the buildings and grounds group, so it's a combined facility. And as you can see on the left, we have 5 service bays with all in-ground lifts. The center portion is where we're blending or taking advantage of the mixed occupancy of the transportation folks and the buildings and grounds folks. That's where you have shared locker rooms, shared bathrooms, common mechanical spaces, those sorts of things. And then on the right side is the service bays for the buildings and grounds group, where they can service their tractors and smaller vehicles and trucks and things. The lower plan is just the second floor mezzanine, which is going to be mostly mechanical space, as well as storage for parts and pieces for the bus garage and the buildings and grounds group, each having their own separate mezzanine storage area. And just quickly, we'll be going through some images of what this could look like. Again, the dark color is just a simple concrete block building, utilizing color to make a design statement. Got the louvers up top are for the mechanical equipment rooms on this upper floor. And the front we have where it's mostly a public place where you have the bus driver's lounge and all the offices and things. We're incorporating these vertical red wing walls, if you will, that will act as shading devices for the offices as well. shading, and then also signage. This is the existing buildings and grounds and transportation building, and this is going to be transformed into an IT area. You can see it's on the left side, it's just offices, conference rooms, more that clerical function. The large area in the center is more of a workspace where they're able to bring in shiploads of computers, able to break down boxes, set those up, program them, whatever. And then as part of this, there is also the white box on the right-hand side is an emergency generator. The existing bus garage is going to pretty much, we're just going to fix that up, but it's going to become more of just a storage building. The bus washing facility will remain at this site, as you can see with the yellow bus there. And we're modifying portions of the building to incorporate the bus washing equipment, men's and women's toilet rooms, and a small waiting room for the bus drivers if the buses are getting washed. Finally, the district office, we're replacing the HVAC system. So this concludes our presentation. I just wanted to review the schedule that we've been on. We completed our seeker in February of 2021. The purchase of the land was approved in May. Tonight we're having our scope and design meeting with you folks. We'll have public information meetings beginning on October 5th. So the public had to be able to hear the same sort of presentation and understand what the project is all about. The board will approve the project on October 12th, and additional public information meetings will be also held in November or early December. Those dates haven't been finalized yet, and then a vote on December 14th.
I'd like to just add a couple things. I've been working in Penfield as your architect or as part of a team of architects since 2001. And we've been talking about a new bus garage, I know, from that point until now, and I know it was discussed prior to that. So personally, I'm really excited that we have gotten this far along, and look forward to hopefully ultimately meeting this dream of yours and the district's to replace your transportation facility. Second thing is, with all the drawings and all the images and graphics and whatnot that we have created, they are a result of a lot of work and meetings with staff, with administration. In order for us to get a pretty good idea of what it is we're embarking on, what it is you're embarking on. And I just want you to know that the intent is that it's primarily so that we, along with your construction managers and your financial advisors who are going to talk next, can develop a project that is financially feasible and responsible, but it is not meant to be the end-all, do-all. The pre-referendum is what we call this phase of our design work. It's, again, only meant to develop the scope and the budget enough so that we're going forward after a successful vote with the confidence that we can deliver this project to you guys. It's not meant to be the final design or drawings. We're not locating outlets on the walls. We're not picking colors. We're not, it's really, it's for us and you to get a general understanding that we're speaking the same language, we're hearing you, and we're speaking the same language. But I want you to know, and staff and any community members know that they're not final designs. The real hard work in design starts after a successful vote. So I just want to make that clear to everyone. Nothing's set in stone, but we want to make sure that we're going forward confidently. Questions?
All right, thank you. Board, any questions on the project? All right. Good. Thank you.
Part of the no questions may be that we have been talking about this since 2001.
Yes.
But, the board's been involved, in the past. We actually had an information night many years ago, and then a land purchase fell apart before we could bring it to voters. So we're at a spot now where, again, a lot of work, and I appreciate Vic referencing that, because it's not just board and district administrators, but it's building staff and the folks, who will be utilizing the library and the tech services, their voices involved here. And I remember actually my first year as superintendent, I think it was Gary Huffman drew me a picture of what it was. I still have it hanging up, but we're at the 1,000-foot spot now.
Right.
The real work continues after, of course, if there is a positive yes vote by the community. And that's where we would really start digging in to make things come together. But thank you both very much. We'll see you soon for another meeting to continue talking about this, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next step is, we've got members, I know Bernie Donegan is here, and to talk through financials. And again, if you could both just introduce yourselves and, the firm you're with, and just so for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chuck Bastian with BPD Finance, and Sarah Bradshaw is with me too. She ran all the numbers, so pulling all the pieces together for how do you get this to work so the average taxpayer can understand how this all works. Thank you. So if you will, we have, okay, Dan's going to find the report for us. And we also have this, the hard copy that we handed out earlier, so we can key on that one first, and then we'll get to the second handout. Okay. Do we do the advancing? Okay, there we go. So in the financial report, there's really 5 key pages that we'll go through to have what Vic and Mike and Steve have talked about in terms of the pieces here for us. How do we get all of that to work in terms of how a school district pays for this over time? So if you will, go into the first page. We have 2 pages of assumptions, and this is how school district projects work in New York State, and you may have been familiar with this on our current authorizations that we have underway. So first and foremost, our very first assumption on the top of this page is our building aid ratio. So all school districts in the state have a ratio that's assigned to them that the state helps us cover our building capital expenses. So in our case, we're at 79.3%, and the estimate that's out for the upcoming year is already up to 80.1, so slightly higher, but that's an estimate as of now. So we want to use the latest actual if it's lower. So it looks like it's on the positive uptrend, but we've used conservatively the lower number, 79.3%. So out of every dollar that we spend on the building projects that's aidable, the state will reimburse us that 79%, so that's fantastic. The second key variable we have here is called bond percentage. And again, working with Steve and Vic over many months here, we've determined how to best phase this project along with campus construction in terms of maximizing your aidability. So again, that's very, very key in terms of maximizing that 79%. So we have a phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3. And what the bond percentage means is out of the dollars being spent, how much of those dollars are aidable at the 79%. So that you really multiply those 2 percentages together. But again, all of our goals is to maximize that bond percentage with the design and the timing of the project. From there, we just have a list of dates. There's a lot of dominoes here that get set up, and as the dominoes fall over, we have to track how the building aid is going to flow based on these dates. So starting off, if there is a referendum on December 14, going forward about a year later, they'd have approval and start off on phase 1, January of 23. Year after that, January of 24 for phase 2, and then the fall of 24 for phase 3. So again, that's being done very purposely to maximize our aidability. From there also, we always ask the architects when would the certificate of completion be done. so that we can file final cost reports with the business office, and that's where the building aid actually starts. And that's the key. We really want to make sure that that aid starts when our bond payments are starting, and make sure that there's no mismatch. We want to make sure that they dovetail together. Starting off then in the borrowing timeframe, January of 2023, June of 24, June of 25 would be when the borrowings would start for each of those phases. Subsequently, we'd have principal payments and interest payments along the way too on the short-term notes and then the bond financings. Down at the bottom, borrowing interest rates. So again, as we do these projections, we have to come up with some sort of an estimate for where we think borrowing rates might be. And again, since that's a few years out in the future, we need to be conservative with estimating these rates. So we've used 4% for notes, 5% for bonds. The notes are our short-term financings, the bond are the permanent financings. Now, just to give you a reference point, where do those two rates stand with where we are today? And everybody may certainly know that interest rates are pretty low today. Dan in his office, we had a bond sale this summer for you for your current capital project authorizations, the additions and the renovation projects you have going on. And we did a combined bond. We put them into one bond for both authorizations, 0.86. So under 1% for a 15-year bond. So pretty fantastic. And again, kudos to you for your credit rating, AA2. You're only 2 notches away from AAA, so keep up the good work. You're very close, but that certainly helps get you those low interest rates, which in turn allows you to pay less interest on the bonds. So fantastic interest rate, 0.86 on the bond. And prior to that, in the spring of 21, there was one bond anticipation note that we issued, 0.35. So notes are pretty low, but we're, again, being conservative because it's a few years out before we'd actually borrow. And down at the very bottom, again, you have some dollars saved up in your capital reserve that would be contributed toward the authorization. So again, good job saving up dollars through the years, saving that for the capital project. Any questions on that first page of assumptions?
Good. Any questions? No?
Okay, very good. Okay, the second page of assumptions, really the box to focus on down here in the middle part is the expenses. What is our budget? What is the capital project budget? So on the right-hand side, the bottom right corner of that, $72,915,000 would be the authorization. And within that, there's a few different accounting categories: construction costs, incidental costs, capitalized interest, and possible financing through the dorm authority if we need to go that route at all. So those dollars are budgeted, and that, again, is coming from campus construction that really helped us outline all the scope items that SEI has lined up, apply dollars to those, and then we're here to project how that would work. Again, on the left side, how do we pay for that? You saved up the $21.7 million of contribution reserves, and then what's left then would be a $51 million bond for us to finance. Any questions on that page? Okay, so we have 3 final pages here. How does this work? So this page 4 is a maturity schedule. Column B, on the left side, there's our saved up contribution from capital reserve. And therefore, in column C, we're going to pay back the principal, the remaining amount that we need, the $51 million over essentially 30 years. And it's front-loaded because the renovations out of the overall scope items, the state aids over 15 years. And the new construction, the new transportation facility, is aided over 30 years. So we blend that together in terms of the bond, but structure it to match up to the building aid that's over in column G. So as we're paying down the principal, we also have our interest payments. You total those two together. Column F is what we call the debt service, and have the building aid blocked against that in column G. And that leaves us with our local share, really column J on the far right side. So that local share, again, you see that we're front-loading that. Those early years are higher than the late years, the out years. Why are we doing that? You have a nice drop-off in terms of old bonds, existing debt, that provides an extra revenue coming in that can help us pay on this bond. So this is meant to dovetail in perfectly to those drop-offs that you have, kind of fill in the potholes, if you will. So Sarah's able to front-load this maturity schedule in column C to really take advantage of that, to try to keep you overall nice and flat. Any questions on that page, the maturity schedule page? We have a little bit of ability in how we structure bonds. We have more ability when we front load. We cannot put a balloon payment at the end under state laws. So that's okay. If we can and we have the ability to do that, we will. Plus that saves you more interest costs too, the faster you pay down any principal. Okay. Page 5. So how does this tie in then with column G? So we have our existing bonds also and the new project. So we end up with column G, the blue, and we end up with a pretty smooth total debt service with all your old bonds, how the aid flows for that, and the new project. So we add the new project with the existing, and we end up with column G in the blue box, roughly $950,000 as a negative number. And it stays flat through the years. And that's really meant as, what that means, why it's a negative number, you have more building aid coming in than you have principal and interest payments. Again, you have been able to use a lot of capital reserve in the past and make large principal payments through the years on our old capital projects, so they're actually throwing off more building aid than we have bonds outstanding. So again, it's almost like providing an annuity to you. So it's very, very well done through the years with your financial management. And then the last page is really just the graph of that. Page 6. And again, you know, as board members, you really have a 3-part budget: program, admin, capital. And boy, if there's a way we can take one of those components, like the capital component, and put it on autopilot, so to speak, keep it as smooth as possible from year to year without having it whipsaw, fantastic, which is what this is proving out to be. And then you as board members can focus on the other 2 pieces of your 3-part budget as you go through your budgeting season. So again, well done in the prior years with the capital projects, with paying down principal and interest. You've been able to set this up where we did have a dip in the early years. We're able to front load this authorization, if it's approved, to fit into that and smooth it out very, very nicely. Dan, you think we missed any highlights or key points there?
No, Chuck, Sarah, thank you both very much. I think the key to communicate to the Board of Education and the community writ large is that when you see this graph being below the 0 threshold, is that what this means is that this project requires no additional tax dollars. As our municipal advisor has indicated, that with this proposed project and the current debt that we have from existing projects, we'll have more building aid coming in than we will have debt service payments as part of our general fund budget through many years and generations of diligent capital planning.
Right. And the last thing to point out, there's another handout we have for you for some steps, some legal, administrative, financial steps. Again, not to go through all these steps, but there's 5 key steps to refresh yourselves with as board members. So I'll just point out a few of these for you. Step 6, there we are tonight, reviewing the financial report. The next page has step 13 for your consideration, as Steve had on his slides earlier about the board meeting October 12. The board would have for its consideration resolution calling for the referendum and also the wording of the proposition. So that's step 13, October 12. Third item to mention would be step 17. There's a few legal publications that we do, just like any school district in the state. Step 21 at the bottom of that page then is the voter referendum on December 14th. And then upon a successful voter referendum, step 26, the board would then adopt what's called a bond resolution, again authorizing us to issue the bonds to finance the capital project. And again, as Dan mentioned on the prior slide, the maturity schedule, that bottom right corner is really what you're focusing on as board members. The total of that local share column. As he mentioned, the very bottom is a negative $1,420,000. So that's really what's needed from the levy And since it's a negative number, it's not needed from the levy. It actually generates to the levy for you to offset it. So you're right, the project would not have any impact there. Well laid out, and again, well done saving up the dollars up front. Any questions on either of those two documents? This is like the graduate level of bond financing in New York State, so you're passing the course.
Thank you both.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As mentioned earlier, our community event for information is October 5th. And so we'll continue to update and share through our newsletters and that evening and board meetings, additional information around the planning of the capital project. So thank you all for being here and walking through in detail. Thank you. Just like the graduates, you guys can stay too, so feel free to, no?
She's like, no, that's okay.
So that concludes, are we still in special reports? That concludes special reports. All right, so I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Elledge.
Okay, let's see where we are. Oh, look at that. Let's see this. Student representative report. I think we first have to administer the oath to the student representative. So welcome.
Can you take a minute to introduce yourself and what grade you're in for our community?
Of course. My name is Lila Harvey. I'm a junior this year at Penfield High School, and I'm very excited to be the new student representative. Thank you.
I think it goes to, is it Mrs. Zerkfitz now or Mr. Elledge?
Usually the board president does it.
And I'll do it.
So you just stand and raise your right hand.
So, yep, stand and raise your right hand and then repeat after me. Do you have a copy of that? Oh, good. So let's see if I can do it so it's easy for you as well. I do solemnly swear that or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the student representative of the Board of Education
And the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of student representative of the Board of Education
the Penfield Central School District according to the best of my ability.
in the Penfield Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. So we're very excited, and we look forward to hearing your reports for a couple of years to come here.
And I don't know, did you prepare a report for tonight or no?
Yes, I did.
All right, wonderful.
All right, so to start off with district-wide events, as many will know, the first day of school was Wednesday, September 1st, and for many it was their first time seeing all their classmates together after about 18 months. Overall, everyone seems to be very happy to be back to in-person learning and being able to see their friends. However, this is still a big shift, and many are still getting used to being back to 5 days a week. Homecoming week was last week from September 7th through September 10th, and most students participated in the dress-up days that included Penfield Pride, Character Day, PJs, and class color. In addition, all levels of sports have started, including modified, JV, and varsity. At the high school, freshman orientation was August 31st, where students were able to walk their schedules and have their questions about PHS answered by their fellow students. Homecoming week was very fun and successful here at PHS with a hallway decorating competition between classes, a pep rally on Friday, complete with games such as tug-of-war, musical chairs, and relay races. Sports games have had large, enthusiastic student sections once again, a return to a new sense of normalcy. At Bay Trail, August 25th was the incoming sixth grader orientation, which was led by Caring Community Ambassadors. And Mrs. Tinder's class has been busy learning and did a paper chain experiment. Moving on to the elementary schools, at Scribner, there was a kindergarten kickoff before school to welcome the students and their parents. This was a PTA-sponsored event and allowed for these kindergartners to make friends before school started. Mrs. McManus's fifth graders created a display where they all shared ideas on how to help each other, which is especially important with today's reality of unknowns. At Cobbles was able to welcome its students back with a supply drop-off on August 31st, another great way for students to meet their teachers in person and fellow classmates. At Harris Hill, kindergartners participated in a scavenger hunt to find Clifford, Piggy, and Pete the cat around the school. And lastly, at Indian Landing, students are using stations to learn math. So they were able to choose from different activities, including Khan Academy, fraction games, math maze, and then were able to work on fractions with their teachers. So it was a great way to take advantage of in-person learning once again.
Board members, any questions? I would just like to say, great job. You came in here and you nailed it your first time out. No warm-up. So I think we'll keep you around for a little while. Thank you. And back to Dr. Putnam.
So we have student and staff honors and just some Penfield Central School District updates this evening. I will let Lila know that you did a great job because you covered everything basically in my report, so that's great, and you did it much better than I will, so thank you. I have pictures though. So just a quick update and a welcome since our last board meeting. We have two new administrators. We have Mrs. Sheena Conway, who is our new Director of Humanities, and we have Mrs. Angela Dunson, who is our new Director of Food Service. So we're very excited. They're already in the role and were approved at the last board meeting, but now that they are approved, we wanted to just welcome them in the community and say thank you for the work they're doing. And as long as taco in a bag continues to be a choice, I will be a very happy superintendent. Just congratulations to the following students, high school students who've been selected to perform at the annual NYSBA All-State Conference in December. I won't read all the names, but they are in the agenda. And congratulations, just again, kudos to our student musicians and our music program that starts way down in kindergarten with general music and first grade Suzuki. So thank you. Some Penfield updates. Welcome back, students. So I'll share with us that our staff did start on Monday, August 30th, which for any one of our public school staff feels like 5 years ago. It's been a very busy couple of weeks. Our students returned Wednesday, September 1st, and staff and students really are excited to be back and be ready to learn and grow. The excitement walking through all of the buildings those first couple days of school was amazing. We're masked. We'll talk about that in a minute because it is a state mandate, but even behind those masks, having kids all back 5 days a week in person is really, really exciting. And the energy from the students and quite honestly the staff, the number of adults who said to me when I walked around, it is so great to have kids back full time. It's amazing. Nobody goes into public education to hang out with adults. It really is around our students, and so it's been a great start. Just some pictures, lots of pictures on our Facebook page, thanks to our Director of Communications, Nancy Bradstreet, and just a few of kids really excited to be back in school. K-12 homecoming week, September 7th to 11th. Just some pictures from our pep rally. I got to tell you, I think Lila would agree that the amount of Penfield pride in terms of shirts being worn that day is amazing. And I was reminded that our students didn't really have a pep rally last year. So for our sophomores, this was the first instance to really see what a high school pep rally looks like, and Penfield High School does it really well. And so everybody outside, having fun, enjoying time, and honestly just great students, and thank you to all the staff that made that happen. And I love the fact that our dress-up days are district-wide, so walking in and seeing pajama day, high school kids in pajamas and kindergartners in pajamas was really cool. We do have a district calendar update that doesn't change any days off, but back on May 25th, the Penfield High School Mosaics Club came and presented to the Board of Education. And they shared the club's vision really around building acceptance of diversity, acknowledging work that the district has done. Their presentation included a number of requests to the board. One of them was changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. And the board listens to students, work through that, and what later in the agenda, what the board has an update to the calendar is not changing, but adding. And so you'll see here in the slide is that they're looking at on our calendar for schools is that it will become Columbus and Indigenous Peoples Day for October 11th. A number of districts around the state have done this. It's a way to honor the fact that Indigenous peoples were here before Europeans came over. It's honest history, and again, it's a way to honor more groups. And so that will be on the agenda a bit later for board vote. I do want to say that whenever I put district calendar update, it doesn't change anything. There's no additional days off of school, so don't get too excited. But it is a nice way to honor and thank you again. Our Mosaic students, we shared with them. They send their thank you to the Board of Education for listening, for students coming forward with a voice and sharing a concern, and then being heard by a school board was really powerful for them. So thank you. And then it's been about 18 months that I've given COVID updates at every board meeting, and I can't wait to not have COVID-related updates, but we do have some. So as we know in emails that have gone out and information, it's all over the news. At the end of August, the New York State Department of Health did mandate masks in all P12 schools. That's for schools that have preschool. And I won't read through the requirement, but that's the language from the Department of Health, which requires masking in all K-12 schools unless our students or staff are eating, drinking, singing, or playing a wind instrument. And if any of those things are happening, then the mask has to be removed, then it's 6 feet apart. And again, our students are doing an incredible job, that resiliency. I think it's fair to say nobody loves wearing a mask, nobody's excited to do it, but what it means to me as a superintendent is if this is what we need to do to make sure our students and staff and community are safe, but also to make sure that we're open 5 days a week from now until June, I'll do just about anything. And I know our students will too, because as you walk through the buildings, they are absolutely incredible. That first day of school, of course, we were a little worried. We didn't know how things would go. Absolutely no issues. Students brought masks, they took masks, and they're doing what they need to do to stay in school and be here full-time 5 days a week. Other COVID-related updates, lots of preventative measures that we've put in place. We did use federal COVID funds to equip every classroom and common space with air purifiers. We've continued to maximize our internal building air filtration and circulation system, so it's filtering and bringing in air at maximum capacity to bring fresh air in from outside regularly. When possible, we're opening classroom windows. I did share with the community and with staff about opening windows. I have to be honest, I have to now say when appropriate, because opening windows is wonderful. Right now, we're in the middle of bee season, and so bees are trying to find where they're going to live when it gets cold, and in some classrooms that is an issue. And so we have to balance the bee allergies and the concern with bees with open windows, but it goes back to the filtration and our classroom air purifier. So classroom teachers have that discretion if there is a concern with bees when those windows are open, but we're working to keep them open whenever possible and appropriate. We're also doing ongoing and advanced regular cleaning and sanitizing of high traffic areas and classrooms. We have signage all over our buildings reminding staff and students about best practices, hand sanitizing, washing hands. Our youngest kids get actually hand washing lessons and specific hand washing breaks. And then just as a reminder, it's been about 18 months, but as a superintendent, I meet weekly with members of the Monroe County Department of Health to just hear what's coming out of Albany, what we can be doing, and ask questions. And so lots of questions that come to me and through our website, from parents, from staff, from students. If we don't get a quick answer, then I can bring those to those weekly meetings and have those conversations. So we're going to continue to be vigilant, but ideally, I know in our community across the nation, the idea of masking is people feel one way or the other. At the end of the day, as a school superintendent, as a Board of Education, we're going to follow the rules we have to follow. But for me, as a parent and a superintendent, I'm going to follow them because my end goal is to keep us open from now until June full-time with kids, because we know that students in front of teachers and teachers with classrooms of kids is the best for education. And so that is where our focus is, and we'll continue to follow those rules and do so knowing that we get to keep students like Lila in school full-time, and so you can have a great junior year. And then this is still new. We're still working through it, but the first couple days of September, New York State put out that they are requiring all school districts to have required testing, the rapid testing that we did last year in schools. So we are working through this process now. So it's not a vaccine mandate. It is a COVID rapid test mandate. So all staff members are going to have to, by the state rules, be tested weekly. However, staff members may opt out of the weekly testing by verifying vaccination status. So individuals who are fully vaccinated do not have to get tested once a week. Others will. And so we're working through now with the Department of Health, with our legal counsel, and with our incredible nurses to determine the best way to collect the data. How do we do this, and how do we roll this out? Part of that new mandate is that New York State is also allowing parents and guardians to opt their children into regular COVID testing. Same thing we did last year with the rapid test. The language in that is really around allowing parents of students who are not vaccinated to opt their children into regular COVID testing. More information is going to be coming, and we will be sending out the same way we did last year through Infinite Campus on Monday. Families in our community will get an email and then a link to Infinite Campus where they're able to opt their student in to regular testing for COVID. The rapid test, the one that comes from Monroe County Department of Health, it's the little nasal swab, not the big one that you do if you have to check for COVID and goes all the way in your nose. So our students have done it. We played a fun little video last year, you may remember, of little kids getting the test done. I think we also had a video of our Patriot mascot getting one done. So that is, I want to be really clear with the community, that is opt-in only. So not all students will have to be tested. It's only if families want their child to be regularly tested with the rapid test, and we're working through that. So that email will come out both for staff and for families on Monday with a deadline of that Friday. We're going to about 5 days to get that information so we know how many students, how many families want to have their students opt into testing. That number is going to determine what it looks like, how we can do it, and how we can make sure that we're following the mandate that came from the state. And
Okay,
that's
board
it.
members, any questions? You're a quiet bunch. I would like to say that, everything I've heard, the opening went very smoothly, especially when you consider, nothing's perfect, but especially when you consider that last year was so tumultuous. And so it's been almost 2 years since you've had it's almost 2 years since you've had a normal standardized opening, and we're still not normal, but it's much more close to that. And I just want to congratulate, the faculty and the staff, and of course the students do their part, and the parents, do their part to help keep the students calm and understand the importance of it. So I think it was very successful in doing that, and I think it leads to a good start for the year.
Yeah, Mark, I'll just tell you, I think it was actually Principal Watt, who was here earlier, who made a comment around, it's not a return to normal, it's a return to routine. And that gives me hope as a parent and a superintendent. This isn't normal. This is not a normal year, but it is routine. It's kids getting up every day, going to school, coming home, telling me they did nothing in school at the dinner table. That's the routine that we do need to get back to. It's not normal, but it is routine, and that's a step in the right direction. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you mentioning staff, because a lot of hands were involved in this. The district office administrators here, our building principals, our assistant principals, our directors, food service with the new regulation, the new rule from the federal that lunch is free, lunch and breakfast is free for all again. Just a lot of work and things that nobody's had to do before. Last year and this year are lots of things that staff have never had to think of when they decided to go into public education. So we've got an incredible team, K-12, and they're doing some great things.
And I'd also like to say that I'm glad to see that there is this provision for parents to opt in, because I know there are parents that have, a child that has health issues, but other children don't, and they're going to, so they want to make sure that all their children are healthy. So this is an opportunity for them to monitor the situation to make sure that all their children stay healthy. Any other questions?
That concludes superintendent reports.
Thank you, Tom. Which brings us to 5A, which is facility change orders. You have the list of change orders in front of you. May I have the above change orders have been reviewed by and are supported by architect Vic Tomaselli, who you saw earlier, project manager Gary Huffman, clerk of the works Jordan English, and the assistant superintendent for business and finance, Dr. Daniel Driffel. So may I have a motion and a second that the change orders as described above be approved?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. School calendar. So Dr. Putnam just explained the change as being made to the school calendar. So may I have a motion and a second that the board approve the revised 2021-2022 calendar as presented earlier?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Was there a question?
No.
Okay. You're just eager today. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We've all been there. Okay, there were no signups for visitor speaking time, so now we talk about Monroe County School Board Association committee meetings. There was one committee meeting since the previous board meeting. That was a legislative committee meeting, which was attended by Catherine Dean and myself. Catherine, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. So it's the first one. Am I on? Yeah. Okay. So we did, some housekeeping. Matt Metras is our president this year, and so we went over, our committee mission and, that type of thing. But there are quite a few items that the legislative committee would like to address as we go along this year based on how things unfold. Funding is one of them, as it always is. We have a new governor. We want to make sure that Governor Hochul delivers on the promised foundation aid that has been upgraded, and so that funding is over the next 3 years, but as a legislative committee, we're looking beyond that as well. Let's see. Regarding testing requirements for unvaccinated staff or staff that refuse to disclose their vaccination status, we discussed that Dr. Mendoza will be directing the enforcement efforts on this testing, and he is currently developing a process that is expected to start in October. There's just a lot of, all the ins and outs and whatnot, so it hasn't started yet. It'll be starting up in October. And then we as a committee had concerns regarding the type of testing, the cost, the availability of the testing that'll be needed, as well as location and staffing needed to accomplish the testing. So it's not just about the testing, it's, multifaceted. And so we as a legislative committee are looking, we may need to address that, and we're preparing if need be. The bus driver shortage came up, and the CDL requirements, and You may be aware that Representative Morelli has proposed what we talked to him about, which was the CDL licensing, and he has made a request to remove that requirement to allow more people to be qualified to be bus drivers. We don't have any interest in having anybody not be able to drive a bus, but the point about the CDL is the maintaining of the bus, which is not necessary because we have a maintenance staff to do that. And, you know, it's universal across the board that this is a very, very big sticking point in trying to recruit new members. And we also talked about, and I'm not sure this is all school districts, but as a committee, we talked about having an interest in having the flexibility to use smaller vehicles that do not require CDL licenses. But I think it's going to depend on how it unfolds with the CDL licensing requirement. Talked about overall staffing shortages and some NISBA resolution discussions. It was a productive meeting, but it was basically just, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about this year and just setting it all up. Mark, was there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I think you covered pretty much everything. I just would reiterate that the bus example, one, you know, that's something that affects every district. This is something that at these legislative committee meetings, we have representatives of all the districts in the county, and they all have the same problem. But it also shows what, when we work together as a Monroe County School Board Association, what happens. We've met with Congressman Morelli numerous times. We brought this is one of our main issues because it is very much a federal legislative issue. So we met with him many times to discuss it, and you know, he listens, and he's trying to take action to get this moving. And again, this affects everybody, locally, statewide, nationwide. There's something need to be changed, and that's really, the change is really what's needed to relieve the pressure on all of the districts. But that's what we do as part of the Monroe County School Board Association's Legislative Committee.
Right, and it is about the advocacy and having those relationships with our lawmakers. And I think we went over this last year when we had new members elected to the Senate and to the State Assembly, and creating those relationships, nurturing the ones that we have. And it really was remarkable that Congressman Morelli was not aware. And just having that relationship and being able to have that conversation just went such a long way. So, you know, we're ready, and I think we're the first ones to have our meetings, right? So I don't think any others have met yet, so here we go. Happy New Year.
Let's see, and that was the only committee meeting. Any, well, no, there were some other activities that took place. I think it was Monroe County Association. I don't know if it's a seminar or a workshop. Kristen, do you want to speak to that?
Absolutely. So the Monroe County School Board Association offers opportunities for school districts around the county to participate in workshops and learn more. And as a district, we continue to focus on our district priority of our culture responsive, sustaining education. And so to support this work, some of the board members, Barb, Emily, and myself, participated in this workshop event over the summer. And as a board, we recognize the importance of us learning together as a collective community. And the presenter was Dr. Eversley Bradwell. He's a professor at Ithaca College, and he's also the vice president on the Ithaca City School District School Board. He was a pretty remarkable speaker. We really enjoyed him, and we're really hopeful that this will just be one of many other opportunities for us to learn from him. And we're looking for opportunities for him to join us and our Penfield community for a conversation with our greater community.
Thank you. All right. And then I just want to also point out that the New York State School Board Association Annual Convention is scheduled for October 23rd through 26th in New York City. It is, at this point in time, still scheduled to run. Separately, normally what happens is they also have a business meeting. So the convention is an opportunity to go to a lot of workshops and hear about things that go on throughout the state. There's a lot of difference between upstate and downstate and how they do things. But it's just a lot about best practice, learning of course, what new laws and regulations there are. There's a law conference, but there's also an annual convention where we as a overall state organization vote on resolutions that become part of the platform for which we support in Albany. And the New York State School Board Association is in Albany, and they help lobby and drive legislation to support our legislative agenda in our platform. We haven't, the resolutions are out, everyone should have those. The Area 2, which is our area, is going to have their review of the resolutions on October 2nd. It's going to be by Zoom. Normally this is the one that's in Canandaigua. So if anyone's interested in attending, you can register for that. Again, it's nice because you don't have to drive down to Canandaigua, and it's also Zoom, so everybody can attend if you're interested. But the business meeting is going to be separate this year, because normally that business meeting is part of the annual convention. It's going to be separate, and it's going to be virtual on Monday, October 18th at 4 p.m. And every district should have a representative. We've always had a representative there. So if any of you are interested in being our our district representative for the business meeting, just let me know, and we can get that information into them so you can be the official, you can vote on our behalf. And again, that's going to be October 18th at 4 p.m. Any new business? There's no unfinished business, any new business? So may I have an motion and a second that we adjourn at 7:58 p.m.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.